Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box, but I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope, and I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Good morning, everybody. Let's rise and grind on a Tuesday morning right here on the Sports Grid Network. This is the Early Line. Donnie Rightside and Joe Ranieri, you know the drill. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern, live right on your television. And boy, the topics are going to be fiery today. Why? We just ended Wild Card Weekend here with an absolute thud in Pittsburgh that has us questioning who the next coach possibly could be in Pittsburgh if there is a change. And also, if one quarterback who's been around for roughly 20 years in the NFL decides to hang them up also. So many topics, so many good looks today. Let's make it a profitable Tuesday here, Joe Ranieri. The energy is high, I know that. It's time to get down to business.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we got wild card in the books. We got divisional matchups coming up, and we still got to crown a national champion in college football, Don.
It's all coming up here. By the way, shout out my guy Adam Thielen going over 12.5 receiving yards, and also the Indiana Pacers getting 6 outright last night. Let's get caffeinated, Joe. What's that hot topic?
Well, Donnie, the PGA Tour just got a massive jolt of caffeine here, and frankly, it needed it. Brooks Koepka is officially back. The 5-time major winner is leaving Live Golf and returning to the PGA Tour later this month. And let me tell you, the reaction has been hilarious. Apparently, some of the rank and file players on the PGA Tour are, quote, pissed off, end quote. Yeah, they think Brooks should have to go back to Q school or earn his way back. Are you kidding me? The dude has won 5 majors. And the guys that are complaining about his return, well, most golf fans wouldn't recognize him if they ran them over in a golf cart, Donnie. Wesley Bryan says it's, quote, interesting, end quote. How about Michael Kim saying, guys are mad? Well, guess what? Nobody is tuning in to watch Michael Kim lay up on a par 5, and they aren't. What they are tuning into is to see Brooks Koepka go toe-to-toe with Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. That's what the fans want. And let's face it, the best players left for Live because the PGA Tour was asleep at the wheel for years. Live offered insane money, and the PGA offered tradition, Donnie. Tradition doesn't pay for a private jet. So now the PGA Tour is trying to save face, and they're making Brooks pay a penalty. He's got to donate $5 million to charity, and he forfeits some future equity. Oh, no. What's he going to do? The guy got upwards of $100 million guaranteed from Live. I think he can find $5 million in his couch cushions there, Donnie. It isn't about penalties. It's about survival. And the PGA Tour knows their product has been watered down. By letting Brooks back in, they've opened the door for, yes, John Rahm, Cameron Smith, and even the big boy, Bryson DeChambeau. And it's about time that these blowhards at the PGA put their feelings aside for once. You want the best tour in the world, you need the best players. Brooks is one of those best players, and he is back. In fact, Donnie, the villains are back here, as something tells me there'll be a few more Live players on their way back to the PGA Tour. And for the first time in years, the PGA Tour is actually going to be interesting, Donnie.
It's a great topic you bring up. I'm certainly going to touch on that a little bit later in the show. But Joe is right about one thing. The PGA Tour did it to themselves. I always found it amazing where I got a kick out of Live Golf had a lot of money and a lot of superstars went, and rightfully so. You were a fool not to leave the PGA Tour and sign up for hundreds of millions of dollars in guaranteed money and a lighter golf schedule, only to come home and then be like, man, this is fun. But again, competition level drives a lot of these athletes. But understand this. The minute those guys went to Live, you know what happened? The PGA's like, I looked at the books. We can offer hundreds of millions of more dollars in prize money to you guys and give you a whole more incentives at this point right now. Imagine how much the PGA Tour is getting over on the players for decades before Live Golf came here. And a matter of fact, when we're getting the anger from the PGA Tour players right now, you left and you came back. No, that guy that left for Live Golf actually made your pockets even fatter because your prize money basically tripled because that guy went to Live to put pressure on your own tour. They should be welcomed back, Joe, with open arms and love and caring, saying, thank you for leaving and driving a wedge between the two because now I make way more money and now you're coming back. We all win in this circumstance here. Great topic today, Joe. Let's get to the early lineup here. And the hottest topics are Aaron Rodgers. Absolute joke. Not the way you played in the Steelers yesterday. He says this about Mike Tomlin. You got to be kidding me. He can't be on the hot seat. The guy goes every year at least one game above 500. That doesn't play anymore, Joe, does it?
Well, you know, not going to cut it, especially when, you know, your defense played as good as they had played last night, and offensively, they just could not get it done. And listen, again, the devil you know better than the devil you don't. In a year where we've got how many vacant jobs still available, there aren't that many coaches. If you think Harbaugh was a hot commodity the minute he was fired, you go ahead and fire Tomlin this week, and you tell me how long he's unemployed.
It's amazing. Let's see if Mike Tomlin, I doubt we're going to get anything coming out of Pittsburgh today that Mike Tomlin's been fired. But I'm just saying, Joe, we've gotten some crazy stories come out on the early line, and we've seen that before. We'll keep you updated on that Mike Tomlin situation in Pittsburgh if there is a situation. Dylan Raiola, there's always a situation with this guy. I mean, he was handed the keys to the castle in Nebraska. It wasn't good enough for him. So you figured he would go into the portal and be like, I'm going to demand how much money? It doesn't matter. I'll set the number for that, and I'll go anywhere I want. Well, he does go anywhere he wants, but goes to Oregon as a backup quarterback. This kid's a strange dude, man.
Yeah, well, I think there was a picture, was it last week, of I believe Patrick Mahomes wearing an Oregon jersey. So since he basically mimics everything Patrick Mahomes does, apparently he decided, hey, maybe that's a sign I should go to Oregon, and that's where he is heading.
How about Koepka coming back to the PGA Tour, as Joe just talked about? This is like you can equate this to a couple different sports, like open wheel racing and the Indy 500. They fractured their organization and basically ruined it by some stars drove here, some stars drove there. The PGA Tour is better when we have all superstars in one. So the faster they can get back together and play, the better it will be. I was just surprised that Brooks Koepka probably could have been like, you know what? Take the easier path. I'll pay the $5 million, lose some equity, and so be it. He could have probably fought that, and they still should have welcomed him back with open arms. But he's back to the PGA Tour, Joe.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, you know, when he left, it was a different story, Donnie. It was 2022. He was in pain. His knee issue was shot. He wasn't sure if he'd ever compete on the PGA Tour anymore at a high level. So he went and took the money for Live, only to win 5 tournaments over there, and then would come back here and win a major during that time. So, yeah, listen, I mean, the tour is better when the best players in the world are playing on it, and he's one of them.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, there's two fools that are still sitting out there right now. Tiger Woods could have went for like $1 billion to not even play golf and just be associated with Live Golf. And you know who's the maddest of them all? It's Rory McIlroy. Rory, you should have went collected $250 million guaranteed, then came back to the PGA Tour. I'm shocked that not every single player didn't just go play for that Saudi organization with Live Golf. More money. It's what they play for. They're pros. Make the most money you can. How about the Buffalo Sabres? They're going to host the 2026 draft. Question is, will they be drafting late in the 2026 draft? Because they're steamrolling so far this season, man. Come on, Sabes.
Wow, that's it. It was great news last night until my Panthers came to town and smoked you 4-3 last night and got the job done. So, but no, listen, it's one of the classic all-time great franchises in the NHL, and they love their hockey in Buffalo. You've got that Canadian contingency that'll come over as well. So, I love the spot for it, Donnie. I really do.
How about Sam Levitt? Sounds like a law firm, right? Like Levitt and LSU, or like Levitt and just I can't even get this out of my mouth here. But Levitt, he left Arizona State. He left his team on the podium, and now he's in LSU. Man, give me that cash. Go down there with Lane Kiffin.
This is shocking. If only those two were seen courtside at a basketball game to actually tip people off that he was. Oh, yeah, going to LSU. Like, we knew this was coming. And kudos to him. I mean, this is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country next year. And who else but Lane Kiffin to get him?
Press it down. And also Brian Rolapp. He did release that statement for the PGA Tour. Phil Mickelson looks like he's left out. He doesn't care. And Zabi Alonso, we'll leave it up to you guys. Who is even in that guy? We'll go to the commercial break and be right back. We'll see it. Let's go.
Who are we looking at? We're looking at SGA because of his availability and consistency. It's Jaylen Brown to do his usage and his leadership. It's Jaylen Brown for how they're playing. It's Cade Cunningham because Detroit's in the top of the East. The MVP talk is going to be wild, and it'll be interesting to watch. MVPs just don't dominate. They survive the season.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Let's get after it. Top Spreadlines here. The information that you need to know coming up this week. And we're going to talk a lot about the NFL playoffs. 2-game Saturday, 2-game Sunday, divisional round action. Let's get it started here, Joe. Game number one we'll talk about. It's actually a Sunday game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Chicago Bears. 6:30 start. Let me just dip in here and take a look at some of these conditions that we might be anticipating in weather. 19 degrees, Joe, but no precipitation and 8 to 9 mile-an-hour winds. Not bad. It's actually a beach day in Chicago at this point. But a Dome team is going outdoors. The opening number, Joe, around 3.5. Most outlets still sitting at 3.5 in a total of 50.5. The Bears with an epic comeback. The Rams saving the best for last in Carolina. Let's get an early week spread line for you, Joe, for the Sunday game this weekend.
Yeah, it's we've seen the total tick down here a little bit in this one from the opening of 51.5, but it stayed steadfast at 3.5 here, Donnie. So we haven't gone under that, but one has to wonder at what point is the Rams money going to start coming in here and maybe drive this thing up a little bit, or is it going to be the Bears? I mean, have the Bears turned a corner? They didn't get much public love the first go-around, Donnie, it appeared there in that opening round win against Green Bay, because everybody thought Green Bay was going to handle business, and they did for, well, just about until the final 4 minutes of the fourth quarter there, Donnie. But the Bears just keep finding a way. This one, I'm really interested to see where this line goes here. Have the Bears finally become public favorites enough where this thing is going to get driven down to a field goal? I'm looking forward to watching this one during the week.
Yeah, you want to make $1 million in this game, Joe? Here's how you do it. You parlay the first half and take the Rams, and you parlay with the second half of that parlay with the Chicago Bears. I mean, the Bears are notorious for saying, we have no idea what we're doing in the first half, and in the second half, in the final 5 minutes, Caleb turns into an absolute god out there and rips it around. We'll see how that plays out, but an underdog here once again for the Chicago Bears at home as the number 2 seed. Let's go to Saturday afternoon's game here, 4:30 start, Buffalo and Denver. The Buffalo Bills, the lower-seeded team, the Denver squad. What? The 1 seed, Joe, still is an underdog, but some outlets are starting to flip that over now. You get 1.5 from the Bills, you get 1.5 from the Broncos here, a total 46.5. No respect, I tell you, for those Broncos. What's the spread line for you, Joe, for this Saturday?
Well, I mean, let's face it. This is shaping up to be very similar to what we saw with the Jacksonville Jaguar line throughout the week, right? It was Buffalo becoming very public. We saw them as a favorite for, well, at least a little while, a couple of days last week. And then right a couple hours before kickoff, boy, did that Jacksonville money come rolling in. And all of a sudden the Bills were a 2.5 point underdog by the time that game started. It feels like this is going to be the same situation here where, listen, if you like Denver, if you're thinking about Denver and teasers or things along those lines, you better hurry up, because I would think by the time we get to the end of the week, Donnie, Denver is going to be the favorite in this game. And I do think the total is also going to begin to rise here as that money starts to come in later on.
Yeah, you're talking about a team that's rested here. Also, you're taking a look at the Buffalo Bills in a tough game on the road in Jacksonville. Banged up quarterback already. They'll probably give him a rest day here this week, and we'll see what happens on that day. Now, let's get to another game, Joe. San Francisco, who beat the Philadelphia Eagles, they're moving on to take on Seattle. The NFL schedule makers didn't do them any favorites. Short week after flying to Philadelphia, now flying back, then going to have to play on a Saturday in Seattle, even more banged up than they were to start that Eagles game. This line opened up around 7. It's at 7.5 across the board as a favorite for Seattle. And the total, Joe, of 45.5. Saturday night prime time. Give me a spread line here for Niners Seahawks.
Yeah, the rematch of Week 18, which seems kind of fitting, right? Because that was the NFC West and who was going to get the bye. It seems fitting that these two teams meet here. And, what if the 49ers did? Well, they just went on the road, all banged up here, losing guys left and right, and they still beat the Eagles. And now they've got a much shorter trip to make here, taking on a very familiar foe in the Seahawks here. They do reseed, don't forget, here by the time we get to this particular point, which is why they are going up against Seattle. And I find this line very interesting because Seattle was steamed into a clear road favorite against the 49ers in Week 18, Donnie. So I'm wondering at this, I mean, we saw most look aheads were 5.5, 6, and then we saw 7s, we saw 7.5s in a look ahead. We're right there. To me, Donnie, this is a question of whether or not the 49ers are going to get enough love to get this thing under a touchdown. I think it likely ends up higher than that. I think we get to 8, maybe even 8.5, Donnie, by the time we get to kickoff.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Third game we'll talk about Sunday, 3 o'clock here. And some of these times changing over the years, changing with tradition. We're supposed to have the 1 and 4 o'clock games, 4:25 games. This one's a 3 o'clock game. It's Houston, who you saw last night decimate the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now going to take on the New England Patriots, who played some pretty good defense of their own against the Los Angeles Chargers. Line opened up 2.5, Joe. Still sits 2.5. The favorite for the 2 seed, the New England Patriots over Houston. What's your spread line early in the week for this game on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it should be noted, right? I mean, 2 defensive touchdowns last night by the Texans, but they did rack up over 400 yards of offense there. But the 3 turnovers have to stop in that spot if this is going to be anywhere close. Just home field advantage here, right? Basically, we're seeing look ahead was 2.5, maybe 3. And that's kind of what we're seeing in the market here, Donnie. But this also feels like a game where a lot of under money is going to hit it, is going to hit the board. So I think this might land under 40 when it's all said and done.
Also, Christian Gonzalez, I believe, in concussion protocol this week for the New England Patriots. That's a devastating one if that one turns out he can't play this weekend. We'll find out. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest. One game in the NBA tonight we'll talk about. San Antonio Spurs on the road to take on OKC. Overnight line -7. Now we're seeing 7.5s and 8s in the marketplace, Joe, with a total of 228.5. Spurs Thunder tonight. Give us a spread line on this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's face it. You give me these 2. This is all precursor to something we're probably going to see in the Western Conference Finals here. But Victor Wembanyama and company starting to go in the right direction as usual and as expected. And the Thunder have hit a little bit of a roadblock here. Going to be interesting to see if San Antonio can do it in OKC.
Oh, let's talk Mike Tomlin and the Steelers next.
Who are we looking at? We're looking at SGA because of his availability and consistency. It's Jaylen Brown to do his usage and his leadership. It's Jaylen Brown for how they're playing. It's Cade Cunningham because Detroit's in the top of the East. The MVP talk is going to be wild, and it'll be interesting to watch. MVPs just don't dominate. They survive the season.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
What happened in Pittsburgh last night? I don't know. But all week long, we were told that, you know what? Houston Texans are favorites here. The odds makers said they should be favorites. And as the game finished, they were favorites, and they won 30-6 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. But understand this. If you watch this football game, it was 3-0 Pittsburgh in the first quarter. It was 7-6 Houston at halftime. It was 7-6 Houston heading into the fourth quarter. The only problem was you detonated yourself for the Pittsburgh Steelers by turning it over, not cashing in once you got even close to the red zone. 23 points in the fourth quarter by the Houston Texans, 0 by the Pittsburgh Steelers, sent the crowd home booing all night long. The same things that popped up all season long with the Pittsburgh Steelers reared their heads again last night. They just don't have the big play. And even though you got a couple catches early on for DK Metcalf, he disappeared around 6 minutes in the first quarter and was never seen from again. A tough night for the Pittsburgh Steelers opens up a lot more questions that we'll get to, Joe. But the Houston Texans, 30-6 over the Steelers. They move on. The Steelers go home.
Yeah, I mean, it was gross. That whole game was absolutely gross on so many different levels here. And I mean, listen, Donnie, by the time we got to the half, we'd only seen one touchdown. We had one touchdown drive, and it might have been the best drive by both offenses of the game. March down the field, good running game. Marks was good, but my goodness, I mean, both sides really. C.J. Stroud. That was not a good game. You can't. He didn't fumble once, Donnie, in the regular season. He fumbled twice in the first half when the lights were the biggest, and of course it was outdoors. So if you thought that was cold, wait until you get to New England. It's going to be cold there as well, and I hope he holds on to the ball that time. But keep an eye. You mentioned the concussion there for the New England side, but Nico Collins left in the third after taking a big hit. Now, Kirk stepped in and was fantastic for him, but it'll be interesting to see what his status is because he is a big part of what they want to do here, and he could be a big loss for Houston moving forward.
Like, if I would have told you to start this football game, I'm going to guarantee you one interception from C.J. Stroud, but also I'm not going to tell you how many they recover. He's going to fumble 5 times in this game. This should have been 30-6 the Pittsburgh Steelers, not 30-6 as a loss. But again, you look at the Steelers, the same things that Arthur Smith, play it slow. The Steelers, hey, if we throw 3 times on first, second, and third down, we hope to get 11 yards with no explosive plays and run the clock. That doesn't work in the playoffs here, and you saw that. But also still understand this. It was 7-6, Joe, in the fourth quarter. And I know you were sitting on a team total under for the Texans. Looked like that was paint by numbers all night long. They scored 23 points. Why? Multiple defensive touchdowns really flipped that game. But the Pittsburgh Steelers to go into this one and say, you know what, we should be able to hang around, and did. It just exploded in their face. You can't play that high wire act all season long by hoping them in close games. You have to have some explosiveness in your offense and get those double-digit leads. They weren't able to do that, and you saw just hanging around didn't work for them last night.
No, it didn't. And really, it was the offensive line that just couldn't get it done. Listen, give the credit to the Houston defense. They took away Metcalf, who had a huge drop. He had a bunch of missed blocks. It was not a good game for Metcalf at all in that one there. But, listen, you got to give credit to the Houston defense. They did it with just 4 down linemen as usual, right? They took away everything else, and Metcalf wasn't a factor down the field. So, yeah, it was really all about the defense for Houston. It's great that you racked up all the yards offensively, Houston, but my goodness, that, the way they played in that game is not going to get it done as you continue to play better teams that don't shoot themselves in the foot like the New England Patriots.
Let me ask you this question, too, because the Tomlin situation is always going to come up. And we can carry this conversation after the break as well. Like, I do think Mike Tomlin is a really good coach. He's never going to embarrass your franchise. The Steelers have a propensity of not firing head coaches, and I get that. But in the NFL, it is a win-now league. And if you're grading on, well, we make the playoffs and, we have winning seasons, that's not what the fan base likes. That gets boring after a long time. And you see, Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game since 2016 season. We're in 2025, 2026 right now. That's where you're graded at this point, Joe. So if they want to fire him, go ahead and do it.
Go ahead and do it. I mean, they got decisions to make. You got a 30-year-old Jonnu Smith. You have a 31-year-old Jalen Ramsey. You got 31-year-old TJ Watt, 36-year-old. The stars of your franchise are all aging out.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this more after the break. Should Tomlin stay or go? Right here on the Early Line.
Who are we looking at? We're looking at SGA because of his availability and consistency. It's Jalen Brunson due to his usage and his leadership. It's Jaylen Brown for how they're playing. It's Cade Cunningham because Detroit's in the top of the East. The MVP talk is going to be wild, and it'll be interesting to watch. MVPs just don't dominate. They survive the season.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Mike Tomlin question, maybe tied at the hip with Aaron Rodgers, because you saw the press conference last night after the game. Aaron Rodgers said, you got to be crazy for getting rid of Mike Tomlin. And it feels like you are now officially at the crossroads for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because if Mike Tomlin does come back, I do think Aaron Rodgers comes back for one more season. Said he really likes playing for Mike. They have a mutual respect. They won the division. They got to the playoffs. And there's something, admirable about that. But the Steelers were never about being 500 and winning division championships. That's an organization with a lot of Lombardi trophies that hasn't sniffed one in a long, long time. So for me, Joe, if Tomlin comes back, Aaron Rodgers comes back, they run it back for one more year, what's the appetite for that in Pittsburgh? But to be honest, this seems like the perfect time to say, all right, Mike, we're going to move on. Aaron, thank you for your time. We got to get younger here. We're going to tear down that high-priced aging defense, trade it for scrap, restart this franchise, and enter into a football team that you can have for the 21st century here. Now, some might say, Donnie, you are crazy. You see what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. They win every year. But trust me as a fan for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's not a lot of fun. From winning a couple games above 500, sneaking in a bad division into the playoffs, and then getting routed every year the minute you step on the field in the playoffs, Joe. Are you with me on maybe it's best to move on from Mike Tomlin, or are you in that camp of, you're crazy, you can't get rid of Tomlin? Where else are you going to go?
Well, again, okay, and get what exactly? The problem isn't Tomlin. The problem is the Steelers front office has put this team into football purgatory, Donnie. I mean, this is a Steelers organization for years that has been as conservative an operation as it gets. They did things the right way. They hit the reset button when they did. They went and got young quarterback, young players. They rebuilt it. They promote from within. They've done it that way from, the beginning of time. And what did they do this year, Donnie? It was like they all of a sudden they were getting drunk at the poker table at the end and just pushed all their chips on the table, because you go out in the offseason, instead of trying to rebuild a roster, get a young quarterback, right? Maybe a rookie quarterback, somebody that you can build for the future. Now, all of a sudden, you went out, you made a deal for, a 28-year-old Metcalf, a 31-year-old Jalen Ramsey, and a 30-year-old Jonnu Smith. You 31-year-old TJ Watt, who's already having issues, 36-year-old kid, and then you sign a 42-year-old quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. And what do? Great. You didn't have a losing season, but once again, you're out in the first round. To me, I don't understand the direction of the front office here. What are you doing? Like you're basically putting all the chips in the middle of a table for an aging roster that is not good enough to compete outside of, okay, we make it to the postseason barely, and we get bounced out in the first round. It's like rinse and repeat. What are they doing, Donnie?
And by the way, also, you look at Mike Tomlin, like he got hired so young. It's not like the dude is like 75 years old on his way out like Bill Belichick was. Like I asked the question this too for the Pittsburgh Steelers, where are we worried about the Tomlin streak, or you think Mike Tomlin, like as a football coach, like, okay, here's what the game plan is going to be, Mike. We're going to keep you. You can have your coordinators, but we're going to tear this football team down. And we think you're the perfect steward to fight us right through this teardown, which probably should only take 2 years. Then we'll be on the upswing again with the young football team. Isn't that an option on the table? Like, it doesn't have to be mutual exclusive that you just blow Tomlin out because you want to restart. Like, wouldn't Mike Tomlin be a great foundational piece to put in that new foundation of a team and get that second wind on his career in Pittsburgh? No?
Yes. But again, at some point here, this organization has to take the bull by the horns, Donnie, and they've got to start building for the future. Now, they have been stockpiling draft picks. I'll give them that, right? They've been doing that. But, is Rodgers coming? Are you going to bring back a 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers? Is that where we're at? I'd be more worried if I was Pittsburgh that Tomlin goes, what am I doing here? Like you said, he's still young. In this hiring cycle, he immediately becomes, again, him and Harbaugh, 1A. They become the two top guys that organizations will throw everything at. If I'm Pittsburgh, you got to be worried about Tomlin throwing the towel and be like, I'm done here. Like, this is not working at all. I don't know the direction you guys are heading, but none of it is about winning football games here for the long term. Not with this roster.
Yeah, we'll keep talking about this Mike Tomlin if there is a situation, which, again, Pittsburgh doesn't fire head coaches all that much. We'll find out later in the week if we do have any changes, but I'm pretty sure you'll hear one way or another over the next 24 hours. Like, yeah, Mike's not going anywhere, or breaking news from Adam Schefter, Mike Tomlin and the Steelers amicably part ways. We'll find out. But the NFL, they're going to have 4 more games this weekend, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Joe, let me ask you this question. I always like to say, make me commissioner. The NFL needs to be a better partner with college football. And college football season goes on a little bit too long. Like the FCS playoffs, Joe, they've been done for a while. We're still waiting on the NCAA champion for Division I here. Those changes can be made, but hear me out. Saturday, why do we have 4:30 and 8:30 here? The NFL, 1 o'clock game, 4 o'clock game, NCAA National Championship on a Saturday night at 8 o'clock, and then you have the 2 Sunday games. Can the NFL be a better partner to college football so we all win, so we don't have to wait to a Monday night football game? It could just be an absolute party weekend of football. Am I in the wrong, Joe?
Listen, the NFL could care less about college football, and they could certainly care less about the NBA. Remember, the NBA was supposed to, you can have every other day, NFL, just give us Christmas, and they can't even do that. So they're gluttonous, and they want it all for themselves. So college football be there. How in the world is a college football national championship game not on Saturday? I'm with you, Donnie. It makes no sense to me.
Again, if we would equate that to the Super Bowl was played on Sunday, right? That's what the tradition is. Can you imagine? I was like, you know what? Friday night Super Bowl here. Like, well, we'll watch it, but that's not really what football is meant to be. And you say, well, Donnie, they play on Saturdays and Mondays. I get it. But Sunday is the traditional football day where the Super Bowl is played, and over the years keeps getting pushed back later and later. But also, Joe, Sunday, 3 o'clock and 6:30. That's usually reserved for like the championship weekend the following week for the AFC and the NFC. Dude, I don't like waiting till 3 o'clock on a Sunday to get that game. And I don't need that 6:30 game where I'm tired because, oh, Donnie, you're an old man. The game gets over at 9:30. That game shouldn't get over at 9:30 on Sunday night. Come on.
I agree. Well, yeah, I mean, Donnie, that it should be a national holiday on Monday, right? Isn't that what we've been screaming at for years? Like, can we just all get off on Monday would be fantastic. But yeah, no, that's not going to happen either. It's all about eyeballs, Donnie. And don't forget what it's in San Francisco this year. So it really will only be 6 o'clock by the time that game kicks off there.
And by the way, San Francisco, that stadium is horrible, man. The Super Bowl's in there. It looks, I don't know what type of commission built that or what type of architecture firm. They ought to be sued out of their mind. That place looks like an erector set out there. It looks terrible. Just wanted to get that off my chest here. Let's move on to some other hot topics. Ben Johnson, that's a rivalry. And he's been known in the NFC North at Detroit to hate himself some Green Bay. He let loose, man. Blank them. Hate those guys. How about that?
Love this, Donnie. Absolutely. We need more of this back in sports. We do. We need this in the NBA. We have it in baseball, which is great. We've never kind of lost that, but we need more of this rivalry. There has to be villains in pro sports, Donnie. If there's not, then it becomes background noise and nobody becomes interested if everyone is happy with one another. So yeah, Ben Johnson, give me more. Hate everybody, Ben. I love it.
Exactly. And how about Herbert out here on the West Coast taking blame for yet another playoff loss? Is he going to come out with an Instagram story about him and Madison Beer saying we apologize because we're just not focused on football as much as we could be, Joe? Huh?
I mean, listen, it's very hard for me to say anything bad about a guy that, broke his hand, had surgery, and played in 4 days. Like, it's just, the guy is as tough as nails, but unfortunately, the supporting cast around him wasn't that great here with all the injuries this season.
How about Jalen Hurts? He don't want to endorse his offensive coordinator, Kevin Petula.
Shocker.
Nobody's endorsing that guy. We all knew it was a bad marriage, but also at the same time, Jalen, you can be a little bit better as well. It's not all the coordinator's fault. Some of those passes, some of those options. And by the way, the fact that I can beat you now, Jalen Hurts, in a race, that says something as well.
Yeah, it was Sirianni's buddy. I mean, I don't know why, Howie Roseman and company allowed him to even choose it to begin with, but okay. But yeah, changes are coming in Philly.
By the way, Joe, we like the evolution of time. You can go back with a nice little trend. How about really good offensive coordinator, make the Super Bowl? Really bad one, don't make the Super Bowl. Really good one, you make the Super Bowl. Really bad one, don't make the Super Bowl. How about next year? A really good coordinator, get back to the Super Bowl. More hot topics on the way next. Early line, how we get down.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
More news and notes around the NFL. We saw a game on Sunday down there in Jacksonville. Boy, what a game it was. Comeback here for Jacksonville. Only to see another comeback for the Buffalo Bills, but there will be no comeback for Gabe Davis, who came back to the Buffalo Bills this season, except for the torn ACL versus the Jaguars. You saw that hit whenever that leg gets bent a certain direction. You see him hobble off. You expect the worst, and they got the worst. Gabe Davis down for the season and possibly next year as well, and maybe that's a career for Gabe Davis.
Yeah, that just unfortunate too, because he's made ever since he came back, he's made some big time catches and big time plays there for Josh Allen. They've got synergy, those two, but now they're down another wide receiver, so they're going to have to game plan accordingly against this Denver defense coming up, and they're going to have to do it without one of the deep shot threats now.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun game to watch. More on Josh Allen's playing just the way it is here. The Patriots, they're moving on, but also could be without their best cornerback in Christian Gonzalez, making his first Pro Bowl this season. He's in concussion protocol. Here's what I love, Joe. Football players are football players. Coaches and organizations want to win. If this is week 5, there's no shot that he makes it through concussion protocol in a week because it's pretty much standard now. You get a concussion, you're out at a minimum of 1 week and maybe 2 to 3 weeks, depending on if you had a concussion history. What are the odds for you, Joe, that Christian Gonzalez stays in concussion protocol and misses this playoff game? What would you put that percentage at?
Yeah, I don't know that he is missing anything here. They will either the current doctor or one that they choose will okay him at some particular point here, and he's going to want to play, but short of anything crazy, he's likely going to be out on the field for him.
It's insane. Like I always say this, like concussions, like they didn't diagnose them back in my day. Like I played Pee Wee football in the 80s, high school football and college football in the 90s. And I'm going to tell you this honestly. I only saw one time, Joe, in my years, 10 or 12 years, whatever I played football for, that there was one diagnosed concussion in 12 years of football. So I don't know how many eye concussions I had at this point, but it is a little bit interesting. If you don't know you have one or you feel a little bit down, or I've had hits in my life where it's like, man, something just isn't right. But the fact that they diagnosed you with a concussion, that's scary though, isn't it? Like, hey, I just got one last week. Like I could scramble my brain again this week and then my career could be done or my effects down the road. But man, these guys are absolute mercenaries at times. Just put me back in, coach. I don't care.
Yeah, and they've done optically, they've done all they can do here to try and mitigate the concussions and those types of things. But it's one thing to pull a player off the field in week 3, Donnie. It's a whole nother thing to keep him out during a Super Bowl run here, which is the point of the season we're at.
And by the way, I'm going to go to, let's call it 1998. And you know how we knew the kid had a concussion on my team during the game? It was carried out on a stretcher. That's how they diagnose concussions. That's back in the day, Joe. I mean, we live in a certainly different time right now with diagnosis.
Totally different.
I mean, totally different. 4 games this weekend. If I ask you, Joe, Buffalo, Denver, San Francisco, Seattle, Houston, New England, Los Angeles, and Chicago. If we do the meter of which game does Joe think will be the most intriguing game and a must-watch on Joe Ranieri's table this weekend, which one is it?
Yeah, well, they're all very intriguing, right, in their own right, Donnie, because they all have a lot of narratives and storylines around them. I think a lot of people are going to look at the Bears game and they're going to say, all right, the Bears, this whole thing is, you're not going to keep doing this. Or maybe they can, but it's all a house of cards here. I think there are some teams that a lot of people in the postseason right now that remain think maybe just, listen, your time is coming here. The 49ers, how many games can they win with a depleted roster like this? How many times can the Bears win games in the last? But call me crazy. I think the Buffalo-Denver game may be the most intriguing, maybe the most wildest one, because you've got a proven quarterback in Josh Allen taking on a number 1 defense. And Josh Allen, the thing on him is he has always played his best football against the best defenses that he has faced. Buffalo gets into trouble when they're better than the team that they play. But in this spot here, this is going to be an all-out war. And I think the winner of that game could very likely move on to be one of the favorites to win it all when it's all said and done.
Give me the bookend games, Joe. Give me the first game of the weekend, 4:30 on Saturday, Buffalo and Denver. Very intrigued for me. Give me the next game the last game on Sunday, which is the 6:30 game, Rams and the Chicago Bears. I'm intrigued by those. I'm not saying I'm not going to watch all 4 games. I'm going to love every bit of it. San Francisco, Seattle, 7.5 point spread. The engine that could, the San Francisco 49ers. That's sort of fun. Houston, New England should be a good game. But when I just look at like explosive fireworks and, oh my goodness, did you see this? It's probably because Caleb makes throws we don't see. Matthew Stafford is a gunslinger. Superstars all over the field for the Rams. And then Buffalo, you just want to watch what Josh Allen does. That dude is a freak that basically says, I don't need any help around me. I'll win this myself. And then the upstart Denver Broncos at home in elevation with Bo Nix, who's trying to go toe-to-toe like he's the next generation of quarterbacks in the NFL. So for me, Buffalo, Denver, Los Angeles, Chicago, that's the way I'm rolling with it this weekend, Joe.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I could even make the argument maybe that the Texans and the Patriots also should be maybe the last game when it's all, you know what I mean? Or even back-to-back here, because I think it used to be, Donnie, wasn't it AFC one day, NFC the next, or it, way back in the day, it was like, all right, let's figure out who the AFC is, let's figure out who the NFC is, and then we wait 6 weeks and we play a Super Bowl. This should be very, very interesting weekend because you've got a lot of public opinion looking at these teams remaining, Donnie. And we know what they have thought all the way through to the season. Is Buffalo gonna keep being the public darling? Out of sight, out of mind. How much love is Denver or Seattle gonna get since nobody's seen them now in a couple of weeks? So I'm gonna be interested to see this line movement throughout the week with these teams.
Also, weather conditions in Denver for this game, 45 degrees, Joe. No precipitation in the forecast. Winds under 5 miles an hour. A great slate. Seattle for this weekend, Joe. Quick weather update for their game. 50 degrees, no rain, and 2 mile an hour winds. Then we flip it over to Sunday in New England. 35-degree temperatures, no rain or snow in the forecast, around 10 mile an hour winds, so not too bad there. And then the final game, the Chicago Bears, that Sunday night game, 19 degrees, no precipitation, and also winds around 8 miles per hour. Like, you're not going to get one of those games, freezing cold conditions, crazy windy conditions where you can't perform. Should be clean for all these teams, and that's all we ask for at this point. Brooks Koepka, he's coming home clean here. A little bit of fine, though, he's got to pay. Let's talk more PGA next.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The PGA Tour. Uh-oh, Richter scale time. Brooks could be coming back. One of the true superstars on the PGA Tour that you liked watching on a week-to-week basis. Number one, big dude, hammered the ball a long way, won major championships, got in the spat with fans and also other PGA Tour players. We need that back in our life, and it looks like it's going to be back. Foreplay put out this tweet here. He's set to return the Torrey Pines and the Farmers Insurance Open on January 29th, and the WM Phoenix Open the following week, which is Super Bowl week, one of the craziest atmospheres on the PGA Tour landscape. More superstars playing each and every week on the PGA Tour. It is a good thing. Let's start here. He's coming back, Joe. Let's welcome back Brooks Koepka. Golf clap.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I love it here. Now, he left LIV. His contract was about to come up, right? This was his final year. But, you know, you spend a lot of time on the other side of the world away from your family. And he's like, you know, I wanted to spend more time at home. So, you know, kudos to him, not to mention that from what we understand, the second contracts being offered to a lot of guys are not even remotely close to what they were the first go around. So listen, but it served its purpose, right? It got the PGA Tour to open up, offer more money. And, you know, it showed that it just can't be Scotty Scheffler minus, plus 300 every tournament. You got to bring the world's best back. And I think what they did with Koepka is I think this was all about opening the window to getting Jon Rahm back, Cameron Young back, and, of course, Bryson DeChambeau, who is also on an expiring deal with LIV. Get him back. That's why they major winners from 2022 to 2025. I mean, they don't want everybody back, but they want those guys back, and I don't blame them.
No, and they're right about this. And also understand this. Sometimes we just want to be truthful. The statement that Brooks Koepka put out was nonsense. Here's how the statement should have read. There was a lot of money on the table. I told you I wanted to go there because I wanted to spend more time with my family because we barely play any golf on LIV Tour. We go to exotic places. We play like 3 days, and then we take like 3 weeks off. And then he writes again like, well, I got to come back to the U.S. because I want to be closer to my family. That's nonsense. Just be honest. I took the money. You would have taken the money. I actually took the money. I made a ton of money. Now I'm coming back to the States because I want to play better golf and still make more money. That's what that statement should have read there, Joe.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't ever blame. I don't be don't hold it against the guy who in 2022, when he signed that contract, could barely walk. He had knee issues, Donnie. He wasn't very good on the tour. He didn't know if he was ever going to compete at a high level again. He took the $100 million. And, oh, by the way, got healthy and then came back and won the PGA Championship there in 2023. So, yeah, don't fault the guy. But, again, I think he was a bridge to getting certainly DeChambeau back because, I mean, I don't know what that guy is going to ask for with LIV Golf. They'll probably give him whatever it is, but he will become the richest golfer on maybe in this solar system ever on the history of Earth will we ever see somebody who's going to be worth as much as DeChambeau is here over the next 12 months.
You saw the CEO, Brian Rowlap, put out that, nonsense, it was like to say. It's like, I don't understand why we're like, we don't get equity and you're going to have to pay a fine and stuff like that. Why aren't they just welcome these guys back with open arms at this point? Because you're right. Like, Bryson DeChambeau should come back. But it's almost at a sticking point. I can make $400 million more, or I can leave this, go back to the tour, and I'm going to lose equity and pay. Now, granted, these guys have made so much money, it technically doesn't matter, but you're still a businessman at this point. Like, why would I leave $500 million on the table to come back to the PGA Tour? There's no guarantee I'm going to have success anyway. What the PGA Tour should say, hey, look, if you were really good and played on the PGA Tour, we'll grandfather you back in here. Come back for a year. We'll put a little penalty on you, but the $5 million fine and you're going to lose equity, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you should be welcoming these guys back. Like, your tour actively got hurt when they left. Please come back to us. It's like a free agent in the NFL. Like, hey, 2 years ago I played in Green Bay, went to Chicago, and Green Bay's like, you know what? You might be the best player in the world, but if you come back here, you're going to sign for the veteran minimum and you're going to back pay salary. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, saving face, Donnie. That's exactly what it is. It is all about saving face. $5 million to a charity is great. You should do it anyway. But the reality is, at least you're throwing it out there. But the reason they don't welcome them all back is they don't want them all. They don't want the Taylor Gooches of the world. They only want a handful of those guys back here, the PGA Tour.
And they don't want Mickelson back, and Phil Mickelson, he don't want to come back anyway. That dude was like, you know what? I'm at the end of the rope. Let me get one last monster payday. He got it. Spouts off on Twitter, and he just sits back and enjoys his life. Look, when you're a heavy gambler, you got to make up that money on the back end of your career. He did that. Congratulations, Phil. Ain't coming back to the tour. We'll be back for hour number 2 next, right here on the Early Line.